A very good evening to our viewers. Thank you for making time and being with us tonight on the evening review. My name is Toivo Njebela. Tonight on the platform, we are joined by Jephta Nguherimo. He is an activist around the issues of Ovaherero Nama genocide, and of course also an author of a book whose title I will share later. But Jephta is here tonight to reflect on a series of, or a lecture that is being held in honor of the late Kazenambo Kazenambo. He's a former cabinet minister, a businessman, and perhaps also an activist in his own right. Thank you, Jephta, for coming back to the platform. I had you here maybe more than a year ago, but thank you for making time. Why Kazenambo? Of all the Herero marshals, people who are fighting the battles for Ovaherero people.
What God is it? What's the question?
The question is why Kazenambo?
Oh, there are so many of people who fought for, who passed on, who fought for this struggle, but we thought that the lecture is fitting for him because he was so passionate in terms of public lecture. And as you know, he spent most of the time here debating or advocating about this issue. So there are so many of them, but we felt that he needs to be honored because in light of the German president's statement that he made at the as a tribute to the late president, he would have reacted. And so I think that my organization, the foundation, thought that it is best for us to honor him with this lecture. It's going to be one of the lectures, but we spoke to the family, and they will be having many, many lectures, maybe yearly, on public issues that are pertinent to the public of Namibia, not necessarily genocide.
Wonderful. So this lecture series is an event where different people speak to a particular subject, or what is the anticipated format of?
Well, the topic of the event is the joint declaration. Is the joint declaration basically done deal, and does it meet the needs, the aspirations and interests of Ovaherero and Nama people? So we have Professor Hennings from Sweden, who have written extensively on this issue. We have a human rights lawyer, John Nauta, at UNAM, is going to be speaking. And so I have invited actually many to mention of them, and some of them declined. And also, we have invited the Namibian government, Ambassador Tonada Itenge Mvula, but unfortunately she said she's not available, but I have reached out to the director, Ambassador Nanda, to give me a replacement to present their point of view. And then I spoke to the German embassy. We invited them, and they are still in the process to evaluate maybe whether they should or should not attend. And but regardless, we have reached out to many groups and organizations and government representatives to come and share their point of view, their multiple perspective on this issue. It's the only time I think of a meeting or discussion of this nature will take place if they show up.
Yeah, wonderful. Why do you think this subject is so important? You have invited the few names that you mentioned are really high-profile intellectuals and social commentators and whatnot. Why do you think the conversation is important?
Well, the issue is important because when you listen or read carefully the German president's statement, he alluded to the fact that he may come back and offer formal apology, meaning that to the German government the issue is done, and to us, the Ovaherero and Nama people, the issue is not done yet, and is not even close to being done. And so we want to know, like, what is it done? And we invited the our own government to come and explain themselves, pronounce themselves on this issue. And remember also our late president made a strong statement about Germany's stance on the Palestinian, siding with the Israel on the Palestinian issue. So there's a lot to untangle, and to discuss like what our late president's statement meant, and then here the German president alluding that he was ready to sign the agreement. So it's very important because it's an issue that will affect the Namibian politics in years to come if it's not resolved properly. Yeah, so it has to be resolved in a manner that is very inclusive.
Yeah. When you're saying that to Namibia and to the descendants of the affected communities that this matter is not done, what do you mean by that?
Well, first of all, we were not party to the agreement or to the tentative agreement, what you call.
Yeah.
And agreement does not meet our demands. And the agreement still speaks about grants and projects. And this is not in line with international law. We are talking about the genocide. And so the payment is obviously reparation, as Mr. Venani stated in response to Mr. Steinmeier. So if you are talking about projects and grants, then we are not done. So we are not meeting our aspiration, because our original aspiration, and it's still our aspiration, is for the German government to atone with your formal apology and at the same time commit to reparations to restore and repair what they have been destroyed.
Yeah, grants and projects. In practical terms, what do you want to be? Okay, of course, you spoke about atonement, which is not a material thing, but in terms of material things, why is projects and what did you mention?
Grants
and grants. Why are those not sufficient? What is it that? What about that is sort of an insult?
We have been through the projects before when they had the so-called the special initiative. They gave like $100 million, and then they bought people chicken and goats to be exchanged. If they grow, if they multiply, they exchange. So we have gone through that. And of course, you are Namibian. You know some people who have taken projects for poultry. Have you seen those people selling their eggs in the supermarket, Pick and Pay or ShopRite? No. You only see the project benefits of people selling eggs in the streets. What we want is for us to determine, as Namibians and as Ovaherero Nama people, to determine the destiny of all the reparation funds. And that means, if at all, we can send our students to universities with that money. If at all, we can get our students to our young people to be involved in entrepreneurship and get some loans. Where do you think that they get the loans? At this point, not even a single young person can get a loan from the bank. Yeah. So that's what we mean by reparation. We have to determine our own destiny as opposed to being dictated like we are going to give us grants. And mind you, it's over a 30-year period. So we have to go back to Germany every year to justify so-called grants as to what happened to that project money. That's how projects work. And that's very insulting, given the magnitude of the genocide that you have inflicted on the people. And we are educated enough, we are leading ourselves, and so we are a free country, and Germany has no business to tell us they are going to give us grants over a 30-year period or project money.
Yeah. My understanding, Jephta, is that that joint declaration has been parked. We don't know now, of course, I don't know the status going forward, but it seems to be that from the Namibian side of things, even government, which you generally do not agree with on this matter, the matter has been parked. Are we saying that, and the Germans, they seem to understand now that the Namibians are not happy and that somehow we have to go back to the drawing board. What do you want to see happening again? Must we tear this one up completely, throw it in a dustbin and start afresh? Do we build on to this one? What do we do?
Good that you have that information and the issue has been packed, but I have not read any official statement from our government that this issue is now on the side. And contrary to what President Steinmeier made, that he will come to apologize and formal apology. But what I want is for the Namibian government to come to the affected communities and sit down and we construct our agenda and our team to negotiate. And so we have to resolve it in-house first.
Yeah.
We cannot just go, we are going to Germany. No, we have to come with us and develop our own common agenda as Namibian, in particular the Ovaherero and Nama people, with our own government and develop a common agenda to move forward. There is no question about that.
Yeah. I'll go back to that subject in a moment, but what is it that the German president said that seemed to have really unsettled a lot of people within the Ovaherero and Nama communities, and perhaps the whole of Namibia? What is it that he said that...
Well, he specifically said that he alluded to the statement that if, unfortunately, during the tribute, his speech, that it is unfortunate that our late president is not going to be here when he returned to apologize, meaning apology was contingent about the joint declaration. So to them, the joint declaration is done. It's a matter of coming, because the first process was for him to come to Namibia and apologize. So he's assuming that this is done. And that's the impression that we get. And at the same time, we know very well that the joint declaration does not include reparation. As I said, it includes grants and the project's money. So that is what is offensive, that are they still moving forward on this matter? At the same time, he's saying these things when the nation is mourning. It's part of his tribute. And people were unsettled about that, to make such a huge statement that cannot be verified by government officials. None of the government officials responded to that particular issue, that he's coming back. So that's why people are unsettled and waiting to hear, like, what's next.
Yeah. Is the issue around the president's the German president's remarks, is the issue about what he said specifically, or that he raised the genocide occasion in that moment? Because there are people who seem to suggest that no, we are mourning the president and you come here and talk about genocide. And in my view, to those, I think, I'm thinking to myself, if the men had come here and not say anything at all about genocide and pretended that there's no that big issue that is still pending, and come here and talk about how wonderful Hage Geingob was and not touch on that, the people will say, but what's happening? Why is he not saying anything at all about genocide? So is the issue the fact that he mentioned genocide, or is his choice of words that you are not happy with?
Well, the issue with different communities and in Namibia mourns differently.
Yeah.
And so he may have touched on the other community that this is not appropriate for you to say that. And this is not appropriate time to make that statement, given that the person you are referencing about is not able to respond, and you are being selective with your tribute. If you had talked about the issue of the late president being forcefully talking about the Germany siding with Israel during the Palestinian genocide, while they're committing what basically genocide in Palestine, then people may have clapped for him, but he should have remained silent, in my opinion. And for him, as you said, the issue is packed. And so why is he bringing an issue that is packed? Or he could have said something different, that we still have a lot of work to do. We are going back and to try to iron our differences in honor of our late president. Yeah. So there were so many statements that he could have made, but he chose to make a statement that implicate that the joint declaration is done, and he may come back soon.
Yeah, wonderful. We go for a quick break and return with Jephta Nguherimo. The evening review continues. Now, Jephta, going back to the joint declaration, why do I have a feeling that there is many isolated groups, each fighting, because you know, everybody seems to be speaking the same language on this issue. But like in your case now, we have your foundation is leading this conversation on its own. If you go to the OTA, the chiefs there are doing the same. If you go to the USA, the Herero communities, there's a guy or two there also doing the same. And these islands of conversations, yeah. Is it helpful? Is it not more helpful if people spoke in one voice as a united front rather than these segmented and fragmented groupings?
Yeah, there's a lot of what you call fragmented groups, but they speak on one language on this issue, and that Germany should pay reparations, and that the current joint declaration was not inclusive of the Ovaherero and Nama people. And so that is what we talk about.
Yeah.
But in last time I told you, like when the impact of genocide on community that experience it, psychological, is very ongoing and is a generational trauma. So you cannot expect a society, a group of people that have gone through that, to be sitting in one place and speaking about one thing. And at the same time, you also have to distinguish between OTAs and other traditional authority. Those are political entity of the Ovaherero people, so they have the right to speak. But when you're talking about organizations like my foundation, is an advocacy foundation, which other groups are doing. But I am also, as I told you, and I was a former teacher and author. And what I have seen in the gap of Namibian history books is the absence of the history, this particular history. So my focus is more on education, hoping to write books that will reach out to different communities in Namibia, students, so that they know. I have met a lot of Namibian students in the US and elsewhere. And when I give conversation, they say, like, how come I have never heard of this? And this is likewise in Germany. How come they say, that's the same thing. How come I never heard about this? So we are failing to educate the people by not teaching history. So my foundation, as one of these series, is more educational, to create a debate that will expand. But I cannot speak for other foundations, but they are doing an important work in terms of advocacy on this issue. In terms of the principle, is the same, but it's question of like, where are they advocating from? And
no, it's good that you said that. I'm asking because I mean, it's good that you are promoting discourse, you know, and it's not a linear sort of discourse. You want even those who might be adversaries of your conversation to also come to the table. I've heard some people in this chair on this subject, some of them from the German-speaking forum, for example, and people have come for me. You know, people have said to me, how can he give a platform to these guys? And I think it's important that we also understand what their thinking is, so that when you strategize, when you design your approach, at least you also know that you design it with all these factors in mind. So I think it's important that you said, for example, that you have also sent your request to the German embassy. They are likely to be defensive during that lecture, but it's important for your community to understand that. Now, the issue that seemed to be really refusing to die is the structure of the people that are speaking for Namibia in this matter. The descendants of the two communities feel always that they're excluded from the conversations, that someone else perhaps who's not even directly affected by this thing is leading that conversation. How do we make sure? Because the argument from government has been, look, we have representatives from those communities. Dr. Nguherimo, for example, at the time, he came from the Herero community. There are people from the Nama community. Are those not Namas and Hereros enough?
Well, the people are Namas enough. I don't, from my perspective, it is not the question of who in the negotiation. Yes, of course, late Dr. Nguherimo was a Herero in the Nama community, but it's the process. How do you construct the team, and what agenda is the team going to promote? In the absence of that, people are going to be resentful. But the thing is, like what the government should do, what I advise, they should go back to the people and construct a representative team. Things are going to, it's the same as similar when the liberation struggle, SWAPO is going to represent people. Is that the only country? In the end, SWAPO sat down with all political parties and drafted the constitution that we still cherish today. Is that not doable? We have this experience to do good things, and we can do it. It's just the belief and the ability to be inclusive. But right now we are being exclusive. And this thing, the issue of multilateral conversation based on other groups, even 10 hero groups, has been done before in other countries. So there's a lot of examples. So I'm not afraid of that. But unless there is a willingness on the part of government to consult and to make sure that the team that is going to negotiate is representative and is endorsed or representative of the interests of Ovaherero and Nama people. Let's say we have a distinguished professor from Harare who's a good negotiator. Yeah, we can say, yeah, sit down in negotiation. A distinguished professor from Namibia who's not a Chiro speaking or Nama people, sit down in negotiation because you're adding skills. But in terms of the political appointees, that's where people have these reservations like, who is he, what agenda is he going to promote or she going to promote? But those things can be ironed out. We have been there, we have done that before. And then
so if it was up to Jephta, how do we weed out this word, this phrase, this slogan, nothing for us without us? I think that it goes along those lines. Nothing for us without us or something like that. What must happen to make sure that that phrase goes away, that people are now happy, they feel that it is for us and with us? What is it that must happen?
As at this point, is a consultative process and a very skillful consultative process to approach those individuals in those groups, as you said, like what could be the answer. They have answers. All these groups have answer to that. What can we do to make this team work? And it's going to be done. And so that's where I'm going to start. And then we can craft the process that is inclusive, multilateral. But at the same time, we are negotiating with Germany. And so we need to be aware that they have experience in these issues. So the UN have expertise. So is the African Union. I was in Ghana. They invited me, and they are willing to lend their legal assistance to the Namibian for this cause. So there are a lot of people who want to help us, and we cannot just say no. Because at the same time, you have to understand that our government sided with South Africa and make an oral argument at the International Court of Justice in favor of the South African argument. What is so different from our government to take the same decision in order to take Germany to court everywhere if Germany is refusing to meet the demands of our Herero people? So that to us showed like, oh, our government can really do this. We were proud of that decision for them to help South Africa. It's a solidarity that is needed, and it was the right thing to do. But then the question to our Herero and now people is like, so if we can do this, why is it that they are fighting half-hearted against this, the German particularly on the issue of genocide? So there's a lot of things for us to untangle, and there's a consultation and knowing that the process has failed. As you said, it has been parked somewhere. Maybe the process didn't meet the people. And so we can go back to the table, whether we are going to draft or to reevaluate what is negotiated. That's a different issue for those who are in the team.
Yeah. The final question to you then, Jephta, is people talk about institutional memory, which is essentially to say that it is beneficial when somebody with a background understanding of a particular subject is involved. So in this case, President Hage Geingob sort of became the first president really to add more fuel to these conversations. Of course, people feel that he negotiated badly. Some say even that he negotiated in bad faith. But at least he was the first one to formally engage and get us something in black and white. But he's dead now. May his soul rest in peace, but he's no longer here. Will that be a setback in this process, because now we have a new president who will be serving until a certain period of time, and then a new president will emerge from November. We don't know who that is. Does this series of events affect the process in your view?
Well, I don't see it that way. One can look at it that way, but I said that the joint declaration had set up a conversation, a discussion that will never go away. First of all, Germany, of course, they apologized after the joint declaration, and even though we're not happy with the apology. So they will never retract, let's say, in light of the president now is gone, we are going to retract on that. First of all, and secondly, the Germany has said, like, well, we agree it was a genocide, but we're going to give you grants and projects. So meaning that they have some commitment, half-hearted commitment to pay, but not what we want, reparations. So the conversation will start where it is, not necessarily erase the legacy of the president. Yeah, the debate he put it in motion. So the question is like, how do we make it better? It's just like any other first president, first Nuyoma, well, like he made a mistake, but then Pohamba corrected, and then the late president corrected. So we can build from that, and how we build it is up to us. And there's no need for us to blame the late president whether he did this. Otherwise, it's just like blaming Mandela's. We have time to construct our own history now. He left us here, and so it is our time to do something to make it better.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Okay, Pamuneni.
Okay.
Thank you for making time.
All right, thank you very much.
That's Jephta Nguherimo. He is a German genocide, or is an activist around German genocide in Namibia. He's an author, and he's also a president of a foundation that is dealing with that subject. Thank you for watching.